Welcome to Charts Today. It's Friday, the 15th of May, and we are seeing crude oil breaking to levels that we saw at the middle of last week. So we were bullish out to clients this morning on crude oil, and that is rising. We still have this bigger target hanging over us. This is on the daily chart on the current contract. And if we look at the uh, the daily chart, we've got big upside targets basically. So the key thing is we are seeing markets pushing higher there. So that's going to be quite key. Taking a look at gas prices as well, just while we're here, they're breaking higher as well. And this just is going to affect inflation in the UK. And we are just testing levels that we haven't seen for several weeks. This 49 level has been broken this morning. We've come back below it, but that's on European gas, and UK gas is up by 3%, breaking through 120, giving us a high that we haven't seen for weeks. So the inflationary pressures are not going away as a result of what we're seeing in the Straits. So the key thing there is that we are seeing markets still haven't really reacted everywhere to that, but we are, I guess, off the back of the China visit with Trump, the read is that actually there's no real sign of a solution. What's known as the Nacho trade, no, not a chance. Hormuz opens is becoming the byword instead of the taco trade. It's the Nacho trade. But interestingly, we are seeing this, and we are likely to see political pressure. I mean, for example, if we look at New York gasoline, that's on the 60-minute chart, but we are on the verge of activating another upside target to $6. So, a 50% increase in prices at the petrol pump in the US is going to be very politically unpopular. So it is really still the case that this crisis, the longer it lingers on, the more the supply becomes an issue. Looking at the dollar, we're just waiting for which way we break after a year going sideways. And I covered that this morning in the LSEG webinar, which you can see on the updated website already. And looking at sterling, well, that's no big surprises there. We're starting to fall back to the bottom of the range. And if we look at it against the euro, equally, we're just seeing sterling with the political woes that we're seeing in the UK at the moment. Bitcoin's giving up about 1% this morning, but still has crept back above the cloud. If we look at bond markets, this, of course, has been my major concern about financial markets at the moment, and Japan just continues to move to those high levels. And we were worried about Japan in January. Well, we're now much higher. We've hit that 2.7 level. This is really going to hurt, given their debt levels. And we're seeing the US bond market also breaking to new highs. So that's significant. And of course, the UK, the political uncertainty not helping, a new upside target on the 30-year. And if we look at the 10-year, we're still above this 5%, breaking to another new high this morning, 5.13%. So the cost of borrowing is just edging up. And this is not limited to the UK. We're seeing it in the German market. They've got upside targets, and the Aussie market, certainly we're seeing inflationary effects there. And so looking at stock indices, the S&P future is set to open lower today, down 1%, and the Nasdaq future also will go lower. And if we look at the Dow, interestingly, the bellwethers, the US bellwethers, just not managing to make new highs there. So that's significant. And we've seen Asia mostly lower. We can see here that Japan was down nearly 1%. The Hang Seng was down 1.6%, not managing to make new highs. And the Shanghai Composite also falling away, and the Aussie market down slightly as well. And the Sensex in India still struggling. That really has seen a sell-off since the Middle East crisis, more affected as a market than most. Looking at and we're seeing here that's the Nasdaq down 1.5%. So today looks like a day where we're going to see some setbacks, and we have seen some big moves in US stocks. Looking at gold, that's down 2%. So really on the verge of activating a new downside target. We look at the 60-minute chart in gold. There was the downside target given yesterday, and we're well on our way to that today. And silver down a massive 7%. The target was less clear there, but that is also looking not good, and just struggling to make new highs. Basically, it's all about these bond markets at the moment, and that's the real concern. So we saw yesterday the Mag 7, a mixed picture. Nvidia is up 4%. Expect them to give up some of that today. If we look at the Dow, the best performer yesterday was Cisco Systems, up a massive 13% to the target. And again, the short-term chart, the targets were there as well. And we did see strong performance there, but we're expecting today to see a weaker performance in the US, and that will probably weigh heavily on the UK market. And we can see we've only got a handful of stocks up. I mean, the oil majors, Shell, BP, this is BP's chart, does look a bit toppy, and Shell also just pulling back towards the target. But the long term on these charts, of course, is spectacular. And if we look at BP on the long term, it did break to new multi-year highs on the back of this Middle East crisis. We're seeing GSK, they're up. They've got a big upside target as well. Pulling back, though, with a lower high, lower low. You have to look at the 60-minute targets. You see, the key point is you can have downside targets whilst you have upside targets. The downside is the shorter term. They're going to fall back before you push again towards that target. But all in all, it's a pretty bearish day. So a week end to the week, going into the weekend, and basically it's the Middle East crisis is starting to weigh, inflation fears continuing. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. Bye for now.